Welcome to the FAM informational session. I am Sarah Gilligan. I'm the FAM program director, and this is Janine Getter, the FAM program coordinator.
Hi, guys.
Janine is also a FAM graduate, so she graduated from last year's cohort, which is really exciting because she knows the program in and out. And So yeah, I think I'll take a moment to just talk a little bit about the program if you don't know anything about it. And then this is basically for you guys to ask questions to us about what the program entails, what's required to apply, and basically any questions you have. So the FAM program was created, this is the 8th cohort this year, so this is the 8th year. It was created by the Haleakala chapter of the Hawaii Farmers Union United to have an alternative for farmer education on Maui. The Haleakala chapter was the first chapter of Hawaii Farmers Union, and there were just a ton of farmers in that chapter. And they were really looking for a way to empower new farmers. So they created an education committee that got together and created a curriculum, which is based on 10 different modules, which I don't know, Janine, if you have that available, and we can just kind of go through. I'll talk a little bit. Cool. I'll talk a little bit about what the curriculum entails. But basically, we will start on December 1st. And for the first 3 weeks of December, it will basically be orientation, what to expect from the program, and also meeting the mentors. So meeting some of the farmers who have committed to not only being teachers in the program, but also making their farms and themselves available for apprenticeships. So that's what we do in the first month of December. We have a break, 2-week break for the holidays. And so that module is called the Farmer. And that's getting to know the mentors and their farms. We will go to, this is the only module where we go to more than one farm in a day. Usually we're just at one farm on Saturday. So I should also say that the way that classes are scheduled is that it's Thursday night class, and that will be from 5:30 to 8:30. Oftentimes we get out at 7:30, but I always tell everyone to be prepared to be there till 8:30, and that can either be at the college or online. A lot of the instructors really appreciate having people in class because it's so much more interactive, and we're really excited. This will be our first year back to having classes in person. But of course, you can also join us via Zoom for Thursday night classes. And then the following Saturday, we'll be out on a farm all over Maui. A lot of country, some Waikapu, some West Side. So the Thursday night class will coincide with what we learn on Saturday. So we get a background in class, and then we go out to the farm on Saturday. So like I said, the first module, the Farmer, we're just learning about the farms that are available to do an apprenticeship on. That's in addition to classes, and that is not mandatory to complete the program. It's if you want a little more time with some of our farmers who have put themselves out there to be teachers. And most of those farms, I mean, all of those farms that are our mentor farms, they're also going to teach a couple classes. So even if you don't decide to do the immersion program, the apprenticeship part of the program, we'll be out on those farms at other times. So this is kind of a background of kind of the some of the main farms that we work with. And like I said, an orientation. So the second module, which begins in earnest in January, that's when we talk about the land, the Aina. We have more, one of our priorities is to have more focus on Native Hawaiian farming. So we are we have a couple great instructors that will be out on their farms, but the first class is always with Scott Fisher, who works with the Hawaii Islands Land Trust, and he actually teaches a college class in Native Hawaiian farming history. So he takes a whole semester of class and puts it into one 3-hour class for us, and we do a background of how not just Hawaiian farming history, but specifically Maui. And then on that Saturday, we'll go out to the Waihe'e Dunes, where Scott has been working for a long time to restore that area and talk about one of the core places that one of the first settlements of Hawaiians on Maui, and talk about just how the land was managed, what food was growing, what plants were there. We just get a really great window into how it looked pre-contact. And then we'll have some other awesome instructors that that module talking about Native Hawaiian farming practices, and then we'll also get kind of an introduction to permaculture and whole systems design, and background on ahupua'a and the history of that. Okay, and so then in February, we'll move into Farm Business 101, which is talking a lot about what it takes to, not just farm, but what it takes to actually build a farm business and how you can actually make a living at farming. It's the difference between having a hobby and then actually making a living in farming. So we talk to a lot of a really cool local organizations. We actually do a class with the Go Farm folks about crop planning and accessing funding with the Kohala Center, diversifying income with, we do like a QuickBooks class with a local farmer, and just and talk about how to source other sources of funding, because oftentimes you need some help, and there's a lot of grants and government agencies that can help with loans and funding. So that's Farm Business 101. And then we'll move into talking about water, the kind of one of the core things about farming, right? We can't really farm unless we have water. So we talk a little bit, again, we go into history of water on Maui and Hawaii in general. And then we do some serious irrigation. We talk about water catchment, and we talk about, building ways to have efficient water systems on the farm. Evan Ryan of Pono Grown Farm does a really great class, and he actually, in the past it's been on Zoom, but now that we'll do it in person, he just brings a bunch of irrigation parts and explains the difference between all of them, which is super awesome. And then we go to his farm on that Saturday and actually build out an irrigation system. So very hands-on, and a lot of hands-on experience in that one, so that you can feel confident in building your own irrigation system after that. You have a question, Lourdes?
Yes. So I've heard a lot of Maui and other islands. You guys do here on Oahu too, right?
We do not. This program, I suppose I should have said that first thing, huh? So at this time, the program is only on Maui, because all of our it's funded by a grant from the county of Maui, and so and all of our farms that we work on Saturdays are on Maui. So we do have some students from Molokai and Lanai that join us via Zoom for the Thursday classes, and then have their own workshops on Saturdays on each island, and then they come and join us a couple times a year. But the cool thing is that the Farmers Union has plans to expand the FAM program to all the islands. It's just kind of in the works.
So when you say they do the the farming part, because I can do the class via Zoom, obviously, but the farming part, would I go to a local farm here?
So it's actually, again, because we're funded by the County of Maui, the program is specifically for Maui County residents.
Oh, okay. Never
But
mind
we
that.
do, but we do, I'm glad you're here because a lot of people have been asking, like, when are you gonna come to other islands? And because we're in our 8th year and we have a pretty good idea of how the curriculum runs, we could duplicate it on other islands. And because the Farmers Union is connected across the islands,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people. We just need to find funding, and we have some leads on how that can start happening. It might be small kind for the next year or so, and more based on like small workshops instead of a full 7-month program.
Oh, got it. And then
But
one more
yeah,
question, I'm sorry. In this,
absolutely.
can we get a copy of this video? Because I might have to leave early.
Yeah, I think, Janine, are you going to post it on the website?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. And in the meantime, until we have this available on other islands, there's tons of resources on the HFU website as well. So lots of
Great, thank
videos
you.
and stuff. Yeah, thanks so much. Cool. Yeah, can't wait till we get to move it on down the road to other islands, but for now it's just Maui. Okay, so our next module is soil and fertility. Jerry Ross from Kupa'a Farms is not only a geologist, but also an awesome farmer and compost master wizard. And his farm, he's been farming up in Kula for about 10 years. So he does 3 really deep dive classes into the soil food web and all of the elements in the soil. We also do soil testing with Jerry, and that whole class is just, it's really, those are college level like soil science classes. So we go pretty deep into what it means to actually have soil health and fertility. Do a composting class with Jerry, and then also we usually do a class with the soil food web with Winsome Williams out at La Kahea Farm, who has been trained by the Soil Food Web School. And last year, we whipped out the microscope and looked at the soil under the microscope. So hopefully we'll have the chance to do that again. And then we move into propagation, which is actually, we talk a little bit about plant propagation, the best way to start your babies and then get them in the field. We also do a lot of work with trees at this time. So we do a grafting class, an air layering and grafting class, and then talk a lot about tree care, because as much as propagating plants, as you know, propagating trees here on Hawaii is a lot faster and easier to do in this climate. So propagating trees is just as big of a part of propagating baby plants as well. Okay, and so then we move into weed management. Here we talk a lot about identifying common weeds, how to decide which weeds you want to focus on and which weeds you don't want to focus on pulling, which weeds can be actually, you know, volunteer plants that can be helpful to your farm, how to use your weeds to your advantage, like as in mulch or compost. And then we talk about weed seed cycles. So how to manage your weeds, basically how to manage without using chemicals, without using herbicides, and with creating a plan so that they don't overtake your farm. And then on the same level, we do an integrated pest management classes with Master Gardener Susie Mastrioani, who takes us, this is another real deep dive into identifying what pests you have and then finding solutions. So we do a lot of microscope work here with Susie, and then kind of a lot of how to research and find what pests you have and to tell the difference between, you know, oh, I have a pest, or oh, I have an infestation. So knowing when to actually pull the plant and when you can intervene and change it up. So almost next to last, we'll go into harvest and post-harvest practices. We do food safety class and talk a little bit about how to make your crops last the longest. I actually work on a farm up here in Kapalua, and so we'll do a harvest and post-harvest class up there and just talk a lot about how to get the most time out of your crops instead of letting them. So we'll talk about washing techniques and stuff here as well. And then the agricultural specialties module is our last module. So this is where we talk about cut flowers and medicinal herbs and mushrooms and a couple other things that we didn't get to cover throughout the whole class. We do a little follow-up there with just other farming specialties that aren't necessarily vegetables, but are important for finding for diversifying your farm. So that's it. And then at the very end, everyone is required to do a final project. So taking everything that you learned throughout the 7 months and applying it to your farm and presenting a slideshow. It's about 8 slides. So it's almost one module per slide. So you would just talk about how you're going to integrate, what we learned about soil onto your farm and water and propagation and weed management. And then we'll have an in-person graduation at the college. Upon graduating, if you have 70% attendance and a final project, you get a stipend of $750 to start your own farm project and also a certificate of professional development from UH. So that is basically a nutshell of the whole program. Phase 2 is available for graduates too, where you can just kind of go a little bit deeper into what your project is, and we have even more resources and folks that can do consulting with you and help you to be on the right track with your farm. So is there anything that I forgot to mention, Janine?
You want to talk about the immersion for a little bit?
Of course, I want to talk about the immersion. It's right there. So yeah, I briefly mentioned that the apprenticeship part of the program is available, and we usually have about 10 farmers that make themselves available to be mentors for the program. So we'll also be doing classes with them as well. But this is where and so at the very beginning, when we introduce ourselves to these farmers, they will talk a little, we'll be on their farm, or else they'll be, if it's not available to be on the farm that day, we'll have a meeting where we talk about it, and they'll say, hey, this is the stuff that I do on my farm. If you apprentice with me, here's the stuff that you can learn. And then you write up a short contract that basically says, this is what I want to learn from this farm. The farmer writes, this is exactly what I'm going to teach. And then you sign the contract. So instead of it being like, it's less of like a job than a very directed study. But there is payment available. The apprenticeships are paid at $15 an hour. And there are up to, I think, 45 hours available, possibly more depending on funding this year. So that's the apprenticeship program that kind of, rounds out your education rather than if you want to go deeper and do a lot more hands-on in the field with some of our farmers. I will just open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. And any questions you have are available. If it's about the curriculum, if it's about anything else from the program, something I forgot to talk about, or the application process.
That was great, Sarah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I think, Ginny, you have already applied. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
got pretty excited and just applied, and now I'm just
Awesome.
like, okay, well, there's even more details that I want to put in my application. But yeah.
Well, cool. We have a chance to, yeah. And for those of you that haven't applied, the application is pretty simple and there's a link to it online. You just answer a couple questions and then we set up an interview via Zoom where we just chat for, we have 30 minutes available to just go into more detail about your application and then again, answer any questions that you have. So it's a pretty simple process and we're going to let everyone know who has been accepted by November 15th and classes start on November 1st. This year, so cool. The HFUU convention is the first weekend of December. So our first class for FAM will actually be at the convention, which is on Bobby Pihia's farm, La Cajea in Waikaku, where Janine has a farm as well, and a couple other of our mentors and farmer instructors have farms there as well. So that'll be a great place to kind of gather, meet some of our mentors, and then kind of get an idea of what HFUU is all about. In addition to being the FAM coordinator, Janine is also the communications and membership director for HFUU. So if you have any questions about the Hawaii Farmers Union in general, you can ask any of those questions too.
Definitely.
I just have a one question, if that's okay. If I have I'm not going to be on island up until December 12th, from like a couple days after Thanksgiving. Does that disqualify me from
No, you're good. So good question. You can, if you're available, so if you're not on island, you can definitely come to the Thursday classes via Zoom. If that's not possible, all of our Thursday classes are recorded. So you can always catch up and they'll be available for like ever, or as long as we have the website. And then you only need 70%. I mean, it's recommended to do as much attendance as you can, but in order to graduate from the program, it's 70% attendance. So if you miss a couple of the first classes, it's all good. Yeah, good question. And like I said, we also have the 2 weeks off for the holidays after. I don't have exactly the dates, but the Thursday and Saturday around Christmas and the Thursday and Saturday around New Year's, we don't have classes.
Cool. I wanted to just share a little bit about my experience if there's no other questions at the moment, but
Thank you.
For sure. It actually all started when I heard about the FAM program when I was helping out with the Mama Llama Maui project, when the sugarcane industry just like completely, went kaput, and everyone was like, what's going to happen to all of this land on Maui? And so my friend recruited me, and we were really trying to empower the community to say, hey, you can have a voice in what's going to happen to this land. And through that project, I learned about the FAM program. And at this time, my husband, Matthew, was literally like the biggest gardener I've ever met. He had like full-on aquaponics system in our backyard, worm bins, like so many plants in pots. And our landlord was like, you need a farm. And so that kind of like planted the seed. And so when that program came around, I was like, Matthew, you should do this program. This is like so perfect for you. And so he applied and got accepted. And literally within like a month or two of that program, he met Winsome, which was his mentor for that cohort, which is down at La Cajea, which is where our farm is now. And that's where he was able to meet Uncle Bobby and share about his vision for his farm. plan, which he wanted to make a lot of rich soil and compost for the island. And so Uncle Bobby was all like, you want to make compost? Here's 2 acres. And so we literally got a connection to get land for our farm. And that was in 2019. And so after helping my husband get this farm off the ground and all that kind of stuff, I was like, okay, I need to learn more about farming too. So that's when I decided to apply for the program last year. And it's just such an amazing program. I can't speak more highly of it because I have no background in farming, but you know, my family has a green thumb, and I know I have a green thumb too. I just didn't put so much energy there. And so now that I feel like I want to put more energy there, and now I have more knowledge behind it, then the farm's just becoming more and more successful. So, you know, you need not just the energy and the passion, you also need the knowledge. And so that's why this program, I think, is so amazing, because all of these farmers that have agreed to teach, they've been doing this for so long. They're not only teaching knowledge, but they're also just teaching their wisdom because they've done the trials and errors over time. So yeah, if you have no limited experience farming, I would still highly encourage you to go for it, because we need more farmers on this island. And through the program, you make these connections and you never know where they're going to take you. It's pretty much changed our whole life for the better. So that's what I wanted to share. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Janine. Yeah, a lot of feedback that we get from folks that join the program is something like I said earlier, like turning a hobby into something a lot more real, and it's not, once you get a lot of background of education, instead of it being just a hobby, you're actually creating a small business out of farming. And some people even start the program saying, I just want to provide for my community and my family. And then after going through the program, they're like, wow, actually, I think I can go to market. I think that I've seen through the program that it's possible with enough planning and, a little bit of spreadsheeting possibly to be able to go to market, and then create products or food from the farm that you can share with the community.
Sure.
Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to share from classes that I didn't share earlier. Another one of the really important parts that I didn't really speak to in modules is that there's a lot of education, a lot of knowledge, forming connections, like Janine said, with people that are mentors in the program and farmers. There's also the connections that you form with your cohort mates. So people that you go through 7 months with that are all want to be farmers too, creates this really awesome community of not only friendships, but support and resources, access to resources. So something that we're working on for this year is to have more kind of fun meetup times with everyone, where we can actually get to go to every people's farms and do work days and stuff like that. So that's something I think that it's more and more possible as we move out of COVID. The 2 years ago when I was running this program, we were could have only 5 people at a time on the farms, and so it's really cool now that we can have all of us joining and then do extracurricular hang time as well, because when we're in class, it's a lot of listening and learning. And I noticed after a couple months in class, everyone is just besties and kind of just wants to hang out with everyone. So, you know, just to be respectful to the farmers that are taking their time out. I'm like, we need to have more hangout sessions. So that's one of our goals this year as well.
Definitely.
And I will be at the Upcountry Farmers Market on the Saturday. If you have any other questions that you want to talk about, or you want a little more information, I can talk about it all day. And so I'll be there. I'll also have some stickers and a little brochure about what the FAM program is. So if you have anyone else that you think might be interested, send them our way. I'll be at the Upcountry Farmers Market this weekend and next Thursday at the Lahaina Jodo Mission Farmers Market on Thursday evening, which is a great little market if you have the impetus to come to the west side.
Cool. Any other last minute questions?
Cool, Tara. I look forward to seeing you there. That's awesome.
You're
Thank
welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys, for joining us. We can cut it a little early if you want, or I don't know, maybe Janine, we can stay on just in case anyone shows up.
Can do.
Okay. Should we just sing or?
I mean, you're being recorded. You can give us a show.
We could upload the slideshow maybe. And just
Oh, wait, no. Can I hear more about your farming experience? I always find that fascinating.
Totally. So the first time I ever was like, oh my gosh, this is possible. I've always worked at natural food co-ops and worked with farmers through that, and restaurants where farmers came to the back door, blah, blah, blah. And so I always kind of knew that it was, you know, out there, but I was like, for some reason, I didn't really know it was possible to kind of like go work on a farm. Could I ever do that? And then I came and visited the Big Island, and I worked in this awesome farm garden there. And I just kind of was like, oh, yeah, this is possible. I can do it. This is like, you know, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And so I got very inspired and started woofing. And I got my first job on woofing on a farm in Colorado. I think the stipend was $250 a month.
Oh my.
To work like 30 hours a week and do everything. And it was awesome. It was a really good experience because I think when we are new to farming, and I just kind of saw the side of it where I just saw all the beautiful produce. I didn't see any of the hard work that went into it. I had a little bit of experience. So when I actually went and worked on the farm, I was like, you know, a lot of the work I did was fixing irrigation leaks and feeding the chickens twice a day and releasing lacewing into the greenhouse and all this stuff that didn't really fit my idea of, you know, this like, you know, it was really hot and there was a drought. And so we had to buy water. And so, but yeah, I mean, I did everything on that farm. And so that was it. I was like, well, shoots, if I could do this, I was expecting a really team building experience, but the farmers were kind of over it at that point. And we're just like, here, we'll show you how to do everything. And so then I just kept doing it. And I worked on small farms. I did a little bit of landscaping. And then I found this program that was a lot like the FAM program. It no longer exists, but it was called the New College for Culture, Ecology, and Sustainable Communities. It was in Santa Rosa, California. And it was a degree completion program. So it was a year-long program for people that had a bunch of units, college units already, but had quit basically, which is what I did. And so over a year, and it was so much like the FAM program because all of our classes were on farms. There was a little bit of classroom time, but basically on the weekends we just went out to farms and learned from farmers, and it was epic. And we talked a lot about business, and I had a lot of great mentors there who said, you know, farming is the fun part, making a living at it, that's, you know, what we're here to learn. And then that was it. After that, I just I worked in vineyards for wineries, and I worked on a pretty big lavender farm, and I worked at a nursery, and I worked at some really awesome established farms. They had been farming for 35 years, and they were great market farms. And then I also worked for a lot of farms that, for lack of a better term, were how do you say this nicely? Like a disaster, you know, like kind of when you when you're woofing, or, you know, just like super passionate about farming, you can find yourself in situations where, you know, it's not that organized, it's not that together. But I learned a lot of amazing lessons on those farms too. I think that's another thing about the FAM program that's really cool, is that a lot of the farmers share with us their, we don't even call them this, but mistakes, because that's where you learn. And a lot of the farmers I've worked with in the past, they will share like, oh, remember that one time when we decided to spray the peppers with, you know, fish emulsion, and we made, you know, too much of it was too concentrated, and we killed the whole field. Yeah, that was awesome. So like those kind of lessons or those kind of mistakes turn into lessons. And so that's been one of the most valuable things to me, is sometimes you learn the lessons from the ways not to do it. And I appreciate that as well, but I think I came to a point in my farming life where I was like, I think I'm good on learning how not to do things. So it's really nice to learn from farmers that are doing it the way that is not only like regenerative and sustainable, but it also, you know, people provide good wages to their workers or create a really good learning experience for their interns. And so the farmers here on Maui, I've never seen a community that's so willing to share everything they know. And the farmers will just say that straight up in the FAM program. Like, I will tell you all my secrets. We need more farmers on this island. So that to me has been really inspiring, and not something I see in a lot of farming communities. So that's super valuable, I think, thinking about it more as a community of farmers instead of just like, you know, we're the farmers that know everything. But yeah, most people are really excited to be a part. The farmers are just as excited as a lot of the students to be a part of the program, because you forget sometimes when you're out there in the field every day that there's other people that want to do it too, you know, that are just as excited about, you know, worms in the soil, or learning how to correctly identify a katydid as they are. But yeah, you know, farming can be kind of isolating, so you forget sometimes. And so it's nice to create this kind of back and forth with farmers and students. And yeah, and now I work at Huamamona up in Kapalua, and we were just talking today about how, I mean, we have the soil, it's a newer farm, so the soil is still being, we're still working on it, but it's a really good like example of not learning the lesson, like how not to do it. Like, this is how you do it, and we're always thinking of new ways to be more efficient. And we just got a broad fork for harvesting carrots, which has changed the whole game. I can't believe it. Today's carrot harvest was it was so much faster and so much funner. And so, you know, I think that's another thing that we talk about a lot in the program is, you know, conventional ag has all of these technologies and all of these amazing kind of crazy machines and stuff that they've used to mechanize farming, but the regenerative ag has those too. Like we can use that knowledge to create these really awesome, more effective tools that aren't huge diesel tractors. They're hand tools and you know, powered by drills and stuff like that, and all this new kind of ideas and technology to have the same forward thinking but just do it regeneratively. So
Yes, yes. Make the life easier.
yep, work smarter, not harder, right? Well, Jenny, thanks for joining us and listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited, and just hearing more about it is, yeah, I'm excited about worms in the ground and all that kind of
Nice.
stuff and learning. And I just feel like, you know, just like an empty sponge, just like waiting for something like this where I could really like absorb everything like correctly. And so, yeah, I'm just excited. Thank you.
Perfect. We'll
Yay.
see you. Is your interview tomorrow or the next Friday?
I'll probably schedule it. I didn't click on the link yet I'm in a cabin in Hana, so I'll click on it and probably schedule it for next Friday.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.